Welcome to Just Break Up, the podcast about love, heartbreak, and all the relationship advice you don't want to hear. My name is Sierra DeMulder.
And I'm Sam Blackwell. And today we're going to answer a letter from somebody who is experiencing breakup regret. But before we begin, we just want to give you our Surgeon General's warning, which is that Sierra and I are not licensed mental health practitioners.
No, we are not. We are not professionals. We are not trained in this. So please take our advice as you see fit. We are only here to offer our humble musings to hopefully shed some understanding and maybe some laughs on the incredibly rewarding but mostly confusing experience that is love. All right, I'm going to dive into today's letter. Right? Me? Right?
Let's do it. Dive in, babe. Water's warm.
Listen, I know when you call me babe, you're mildly insulting me. And I can't lie. I love it. All right, here we go. It is from Regretty Spaghetti, whose pronouns are she, her, who's writing to us from Clown Town, which will never not make me laugh. All right. Dear Sierra and Sam, I'm writing to you in my most desperate hour. Her broke up. I know. Her broke up with my partner, him, of 7 years a couple weeks ago. Oof. I think this is the biggest loss I've ever experienced, and I'm rapidly moving through all stages of grief every single day. My world has been upended, and I feel completely lost. I'm in a lot of pain, which makes me feel like a total clown, because this was my choice. Mm-hmm. We dated through very formative times in our 20s and are now coming up on 30 after living together for 5 years. I spent years ruminating the breakup because I was confused about spending the rest of my life with someone I got together with when I was 20. Mm-hmm. The relationship, not without its challenges, was nurturing, healthy, loving, safe, and secure. It was also kind of boring, and I couldn't tell if we were growing together or apart. I faced this huge internal battle for years, wondering if it was right. Did we meet too soon? Am I really done with dating forever? Can I really be happy with him for the rest of my life? Are we truly compatible when we've changed so much? And sometimes the answer was yes, absolutely. But towards the end, it was increasingly no, maybe not. We started couples therapy and our own therapy just as I was checking out. The therapist always described me as ambivalent about the relationship. When I was in it, I was so unsure. And now that I'm not in it, I'm equally unsure and really struggling. I wish I had given it more time. And on the other hand, I know I gave it plenty of time. Mm-hmm. Something was building up in me and I ripped the Band-Aid off. I'm trying to respect the process of the breakup and give my ex-partner space, but I'm really struggling with feelings of regret. There's this part of me that knows it was inevitable, but my fear and anxiety has really taken control of the narrative. I don't want this anymore. I feel like I made a huge mistake. I just want to rewind and go back to our safe and secure home. I feel like I took him for granted and failed him and our relationship. I just want another chance. Time out. Do you really want another chance? Because you've been repeatedly...
You're getting ahead of yourself, DeMulder.
Yeah. I'm sorry. Yeah. Okay. I mean that lovingly. Y'all tell us that it's cathartic to write it out. Mm-hmm. So hopefully it's cathartic to hear it as well. Okay. I just want another chance. I'm already planning out all the ways I could change to make it work for us. It is taking everything in me not to run back to him and beg for forgiveness. Honestly, I don't think he would or should entertain that possibility, which further breaks my heart. Mm-hmm. But again, I ask for this. So who am I? So who am I to change my mind or put him through that? We didn't get a lot of closure and are doing no contact right now. We will have to reconnect in September because of a shared lease. I'm holding on to this weird plan where I can make some grand appeal to him in September and hopefully get back together. I hate thinking about that, though, because I know it will totally undermine my own healing and possibly his when we reconnect. I guess my small series of questions and confusions are, is it normal to feel this much regret after a breakup? How do I move on when I feel so broken? How do I deal with the shame that I've caused myself and someone I love so much hurt and pain? Does it make sense to reach out to reconcile when emotions are so high? Will it ever make sense to reach out? What if this is the biggest mistake of my life? How can I stop spiraling? Is this just the process that I have to go through to heal? I have small moments of peace and clarity, though overwhelmingly, I am not coping very well at all. Thank you for considering this question. Again, your love and commitment to this work means a lot. All my love, Regretty Spaghetti.
All right, Regretty, thank you so much for writing to us, for trusting us with this question. And I'm sorry that you're spiraling.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Spiraling is never a good place to be. And especially when we're in a big period of transition, to feel like we've made some sort of mistake and that we are doing something wrong or whatever it might be in this moment. So I hope that through conversation with us in this episode, we can get to a point where we offer you some reassurance and some support in what it looks like to move out of this place of like, what if, into a place of what is and what could be. But before we do that, we are going to take a quick break.
All right, my darling. My tender, hurting darling. I'm so sorry you are going through such a hard time. Forgive me for making the joke earlier about you wanting to, if you really wanted to go back or not, because I know that's exactly where you are. This place of constant turmoil, minimal peace, constant questioning of regret and intentions. I know this, you are at like the shittiest point of a breakup, I feel like.
Yeah.
The first couple weeks afterwards where you don't feel that instant relief of freedom that you were hoping to feel that other people might feel, right? And instead you're like, oh, fuck, this is so uncomfortable. The discomfort of this is overwhelming. Mm-hmm. And I want to remind you that when we feel discomfort, it does not necessarily mean we are on the wrong path.
Yep.
Discomfort is an emotion that pops up when our nervous systems and our lives and the universe is telling us we have an opportunity to do something differently. Like your life is going to feel different. This discomfort is saying you have the opportunity to try what singleness feels like, try out dating, try out even just looking at your ex relationship differently, right? Maybe the difference is perspective, but the discomfort is if you take anything from this, just, tell yourself this discomfort is giving me the opportunity to do something differently, and it is temporary.
And I think that the thing that you're experiencing here with this regret or this feeling of like, what did I just do, is actually really common for folks who are going through a breakup. I mean, you were together for 7 years, right? You lived together for 5 years. You were together when you were, like 22 or whatever, right?
Yes.
Like this is a huge transition. And of course it makes sense that you would look and say like, oh shit, did I do the right thing? Disrupting so much of my life, right? Like this is not like did I pick the right entree at dinner, right? Like this is like things were going one way for however many years, 7 years. And then suddenly I decided that thing that was not only about who I was with, but also about what my housing situation was, what my future prospects for like maybe having a family might be, right? Like what, what I'm going to do every night when I get home and like who I'm going to hang out with, right? Like this is a huge disruption. Like this is like really, really big. And so of course you're feeling like, wow, this is a huge amount of change. And maybe it would be easier to go back to that thing that was like not working super well, but was definitely more comfortable than this is.
Yes. Comfort. Yeah.
Absolutely. And like, it makes a total sense that you're like, what am I doing? What did I do? Why did I do this? And I think that that's a really common experience. I think that like, so often the narrative around breakups is that it's like a sudden release for the person who does the breaking up, and then the person who gets broken up with is like deeply devastated.
It's freedom versus suppression. Yeah,
absolutely. Exactly. And it's just like, all I want is to try and get that person back. And like, as somebody who's been broken up with and then been in a place where I'm like, I don't want to get back with you after you broke up with me, even though they asked me to. It's like the story of that is so much more nuanced than that. It is so much more than just like, yes, one person is finally free of the ball and chain and the other person is like crying and like desperate to get the person back. So super normal that you're experiencing this. And I want to say that your regret isn't necessarily telling you that you did the wrong decision. I think that your regret is just saying to you, wow, this is a big change. Wow, are we 100% sure that this is the right idea? Because this is a lot to handle. Like our tiny little hearts and brains are not equipped to go through all of this amount of change. And yet, our tiny little hearts and brains are so fucking resilient that they can find their way through shit like this when we need to, right? And the truth is that you're going to find your way through this. You're going to find a way to make this hurt less. But I know that at this moment, it doesn't feel like that because you're in, like Sierra said, the worst part of it, like the initial few weeks after this is happening. But over time, the decision becomes, if not more clear, then just more comfortable, right? Like, absolutely. Like this is, I know what I'm going to do for dinner tonight. Whereas like a week ago, I couldn't imagine cooking for myself, or I know what I'm going to make plans with somebody this weekend because I know that it's really hard on the weekends when I don't do anything because then I just sit and stew, right? Like you will come up with ways to help see you through this awkward, weird, uncomfortable transition period that you're currently in.
Do you want to hear a new weird metaphor of mine?
Oh, I love it.
When it comes to breakups? Okay, cool. So when you were talking, I was just picturing it. Like the breakup is like climbing a mountain. When you when you decide to break up with somebody, and this is obviously one iteration of breaking up with somebody, but like in this instance, if you decide to break up with someone, you're looking at the mountain and you're like, fuck, man, if I decide to break up with them, I'm gonna have to climb that. Getting to the summit, climbing it isn't actually the breakup, isn't actually telling the person you don't want to be with them. That's sitting at the bottom of the mountain and saying, okay, I'm going to climb this.
Or maybe like the first base camp, like you're a little bit up the mountain.
First base camp is you saying, I don't want to be together, right? And then the next couple stages are you going up that fucking mountain and being like, what the fuck did I do? Like, what choice did I make for my life? And you're still looking up and the summit's a ways off and you can look back at the lovely, comfortable ground area, the down at the bottom of that mountain. And you're like, man, should I go back? I don't know if I can make it. I've already committed to this terrible thing. Did I make a huge mistake? And over the next couple of weeks or months, you're going to get to that top of the mountain and you're going to have new clarity. Guess what? The journey is not going to be over. It's not going to be totally easy going down that mountain, but you're going to have moments of reprieve, of clarity, of understanding when you get to the top of that hard. It's almost like you're in the process where the discomfort labor is the highest, where you have to deal with the most discomfort, right? And so you're climbing that mountain and you're dealing with all this discomfort of newness, of regret, of shame, all of that. And you're going to get to the top of the mountain. You're going to look around and be like, okay, cool. I see more clearly, but that doesn't mean that whole process wasn't a shitbag, right? And then you have to make your way down, which is, it's rocky, it's brambly, you're going to trip and fall, and making your way down is the other part of the healing process or moving through process with its own set of things that you have to navigate. Going down that mountain, do you start dating again, even though you got to you're tripping over those boulders and maybe you trip and roll for a while. I don't know.
But you're like a cartoon character, so you don't break your arm or anything. You just tumble in a little ball.
So anyway, that is what I was just picturing. And you're at the base camp, right? You're halfway between first base camp and second base camp. You've broken up and you've started hiking, and you're like, shit, man, was this worth it? Is it going to be worth it? And I'm going to tell you confidently, even if you made a quote mistake or not, and by that I mean, even if you and your partner are destined to be together in this next iteration of your life, you didn't make a mistake because you needed to know what this mountain looked like. You knew you needed to climb it. You knew that the relationship as it was in this current iteration, including your hesitations about it, right?
Yep.
Because that was a part of the relationship.
Yep. You broke up for a reason, right? Like
Right.
it wasn't
And
just like
those
a thing you
reasons were
decided.
real.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. And they were equal parts of the relationship to the stuff that you're looking back at and being like, oh, that felt comfortable, because they were both happening at the same time.
Your desire to leave is just as important as your desire to stay, right? And even if you know, in September, you both talk again and you decide to give it another go, this was necessary. It was necessary for you to have this perspective shift, to do this labor, to find out how resilient and uncomfortable you can feel and what change happens in that discomfort. And I think, I think all relationships should have or all breakups should have a mandatory trial period where it's like you have to commit to the separation before anything can happen, so that the people, like, I would be so thrilled, not really, but I would understand if somebody said to me, I need to break up with you and I need to not talk to you for a month because I need to know what this feels like. We need to let these feelings. You can't just go up. You can't just look at the mountain, right? You got to climb it. You can't just stay, on the ground level. That's the wrong word, but you know what I mean. So I think it's a good thing that you're doing no contact. Don't let this no contact time just be a bunch of time where you're stewing about all the ways in which you're going to win him back. I will say this. If you feel at the end of this summer that you still feel a pull to revisit the relationship, then you need to act not out of fear. Because right now you're saying, oh my God, I'm so afraid I made a wrong mistake. Or I'm so afraid I made a mistake. I'm so afraid that I made the wrong choice. I'm so afraid that I hurt him, and I'm so afraid that I hurt myself. I'm afraid. But we can't move backwards out of fear to what we know is familiar, right? We need to move forward with new curiosity, right?
For sure.
What would the forward relationship be? What would the forward you be? And not how will you change yourself to fit into the past relationship, like you said in the letter. It's not like all the ways you can change yourself to fit into this relationship that you thought about leaving for years.
And as you're thinking about like what the future looks like, it can't just be about like, here's all the, like Sierra said, all the way, I'm going to make myself fit into this. It also has to be about like, how is this person going to behave in a way that makes you feel less ambivalent about this relationship, right? Like there were two of you in it. So it's not that you need to change to fit exactly what he wants out of this relationship. If something's going to happen, if things are going to move forward, then you're both going to have to change because like the relationship wasn't working. That's why you broke up, right? You didn't just do it because you were stupid. You did it because of really, really legitimate reasons that you weren't getting what you needed out of it, right? So something is going to have to be different and change and move towards a different vision of your relationship rather than saying, how can I contort myself so that I'm finally comfortable in this chair that was never designed for me, that is always going to be uncomfortable for me unless the chair itself changes.
Yes, exactly. And this is just your like friendly neighborhood podcast host reminding you that it's okay to be uncomfortable and it's okay to feel out the parameters of this new discomfort, right? Like take this summer to be like, I have this summer to feel what this newness feels like, like not go and have like your hot girl summer rebound, whatever, even though like do that. Yes. But more like say this back to me. It is okay for me to be uncomfortable and it's okay for me to use this time to better understand my needs. That's what you ask for. That was the right thing to do. Sam and I think you did the right thing. I don't know if that helps, but like two strangers across the world think that you made the right choice. Because you're right. Like relationships, you either stay together forever or you break up. And sometimes we need to break up to learn more about ourselves and learn more about our relationships,
Yep. Absolutely. All right, my friend. Thank you for writing to us. We know that this isn't easy, that it's really easy to be in the helicopter watching the person climb the mountain and much harder to be the person on the ground actually trying to get their way to the top. But we're here with you. We know that this is really challenging. We also know that you didn't make a mistake. You did exactly what you thought was right. And our hope is that with some time, with some intentional tenderness for yourself, that you'll be able to see what we see, which is that you are really capable of making good decisions for yourself. And you'll find a way to move into this next chapter of your life in a way that's going to be more sustainable, more nutritious for you.
Absolutely. We love you so much, my darling, and we hope this helps.
Thank you so much for writing. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for listening. You can, if you want more content from us, you can always support us on Patreon. If you support us for as little as $5 a month, you'll get an additional bonus weekly episode, as well as access to our main episodes without ads. That's patreon.com/justbreakuppod.
You can slide into our DMs, send us your favorite relationship memes, but most importantly, you can submit questions about all matters of the heart at justbreakuppod.com, which is also where you can find our merchandise.
Please remember to like, follow, subscribe, give us a 5-star rating and review. This literally keeps our mics on and helps us reach more brokenhearted souls who need 2 random strangers giving them relationship advice.
Just Break Up is a production of Duvid Media, original music, recording, editing, producing, all magical things by our good friend Spencer Worth Davis. Make sure to check out his music and podcasts. And remember, even when you are sad and broken and unsure, you are incredibly resilient. Even when you are uncomfortable, you are still growing and learning and surviving. You can move through this period of uncertainty with grace and compassion for yourself. And if all else fails,
just break up.